Hey, welcome back to Pinstriping tutorial part 3. As promised, today we're going to focus on laying down a design and how to do it properly, how to start your design. Today is not about making your design fancy and spectacular. Instead, we're going to focus on a very simple design, and we're going to cover how to cover it, how to prepare it, and what to look for. Because whether you're painting a motorcycle petrol tank or a guitar, the principle is going to be more or less the same. So we're going to learn how to prepare everything you need, so the job is executed much smoother and more precise than without it. So we're going to use two colors today. We're going to get to that in a detail later on, and yeah, let's start. Actually, before I start, I need to apologize to this guy, because he was trying to take my bite out for a spin and I didn't let him, so he's not talking to me. He'll get over it. I'm sure he will. Paint? No? Told ya. Right, let's do this. Alright, so before we go to laying the design, I want to introduce you to this little guy. His name is, earthquake. His name is Stabilo, and it's basically a pencil that will write on everything: paper, glass, plastic, metal. I believe it's grease pencil or chalk pencil, and it's all surface pencil. And the beauty of that thing is, if you make your mark on any surface, all it takes is just a bit of water, and it comes off without any scratches or any marks. It's great when it comes to your finding your center line on your surface, or if you lay it down like a basic landmarks for your design, where do things go. This one is white because you're working on a black panel. They come in different colors, and they obviously much longer. They about as well the normal length of a normal pencil, but because I've been using this one for quite some time, it goes shorter and shorter as you sharpen it. It's a very soft inside. Yeah, very useful tool. You don't need to have one, but I do recommend you getting one. It's very useful, as we're gonna get into in a minute. Okay, so once again, Stabilo pencil, and they're really cheap. Get yourself one. Today's design, we're gonna use two colors. Obviously, design can be laid down with one color, two, three, or unlimited amount of colors, but we're gonna use two colors today. Red and white. Actually, it's bright red and polar white, which is just red and white. Why these two colors? Simply just because when I first started pinstriping years and years ago, this is the first two colors I got. Simply because it just doesn't get any more old school than red and white. If you look at all the hot rods and bobbers and all the old school designs, you just can't go wrong with red and white. You got matte black surface and you see red and white pinstriping everywhere. I just thought that would make sense. Plus it's a good contrasting color, so you can lay it down in a kind of segmented pieces, which is very pleasing for the eye. The way I like to work is I like to lay down the darker color first, which in this case would be red, and then visually the lot brighter color goes on top, which is white. It just kind of makes sense when it comes to laying down your design this way. Obviously, once you get into it a bit more and more and more, we can add third and fourth and fifth color and gold leaf and copper leaf and all sorts of crazy stuff, but at the moment let's keep it very simple. Let's pick ourselves two colors. It don't need to be white and red, it can be any other combo, but today we're working with white and red just as a principle. Okay, so the first thing we should do on whichever surface we're working, whether that's a practice panel or a guitar or a motorcycle petrol tank, it doesn't matter. we want to lay our design in the middle, unless we don't, but that's a different story. But if we want to lay it down in the middle, we need to find a center line. Simplest way of doing it, just measure it up. There you go, that's 50 centimeters, so 25 is going to be in the middle. Put a mark here, put a mark on the bottom, and center line using our Stabilo pencil. Right, this is our center line. We're going to lay the design on each side of this line. Yeah, it's as simple as that. Now, what I want to mention here, sometimes, or quite often actually, you see guys, other pinstripers using like a grid. Yeah, grid. So on each side is you got grid by, like, I don't know, 2 by 2 or 4 by 4. It doesn't matter. You know what a grid is. And they use it to find the symmetry points so the design look the same on the left as on the right side. I've got mixed opinions myself about that grid. I never practiced with grid. I never done it. I mean, I've probably done it like once or twice, but I quickly stopped doing this, just because once you start practicing with grid, and when you learn how to work with grid, it will be very difficult to pinstripe without the grid, if that makes any sense. So I kind of never use the grid for some reason. I know there are tools out there on the market and some pounds powder that you can just quickly tap, and the grid design is laid down, and it's very easy to do, and I believe it's very helpful. But it's not the way I was working. The way I look at it, and again, this is only my personal opinion, this pinstriping is a handmade art, and it should look like it's done by hand, so it's gonna have imperfections in it. Yes, we are trying to make it as perfect and as accurate as we can, but we are only human. This is not computer generated graphics. This is not a sticker that is perfect in every single way. I think the part of the beauty in pinstriping is that it's done by hand, old school way, and if there are imperfections in it, then great, and I think that's how it should be. Again, don't get me wrong, you try to make it as perfect as you can, but if there's a slight misperfection one side to the other, I think that's acceptable. That's part of the job. That's how I see it. If your customer wants it 100% perfect, send him off to a computer, and you can print over graphics and stick it on his motorbike if that's what he wants. That's how I see it. So if you do want to start practicing with a grid, just draw yourself a little grid over here, and do it this way. But for the moment, I'll try to show you that it's possible to do perfectly symmetrical design, or as close to perfection as possible, without the grid. Yeah, let's do this. Let's load up the brush and see what happens. Okay, so we've got our brush fully loaded. You already know how to do that. We've got our center line over here established. So let's start the design from a centerpiece. Right. So I feel like doing teardrop design, which we covered in the last episode. So let's do that in the middle. We're gonna follow that Stabilo line over here. Yeah? So once again, we that's the simple one. Press down a little bit harder, and once you go down, you relieve that pressure slightly, so you got nice and thin line in the end. And I'll try to get you a bit closer. If the line is slightly messed up over here, don't worry about it. You can go back and just fix it a little bit on one way and the other, so it looks even on each end. Okay, what we want to do right now is we want to start building the design of each side of that centerpiece. And when you're right-handed like I am, what I want to do, I want to start on the left-hand side. Why is that? When I build my line on the left, then I can move on to the right, and I can see the line exactly over there, so I can replicate it. if I do it the other way around, if I do first line on the right, when I move to the left to replicate it, my hand is in the way, so I can't really see it, what's going on. Obviously there are exceptions, but as a rule of thumb I like to start my design on the left and then immediately go to the right to repeat that process. The other thing I want to mention is when you build up your design, do one line at a time, or maybe two at tops. Don't try to build the whole design on the left hand side and then replicate that design on the right. It's just not going to work. What you want to do, you want to build each individual lines on the left, and then when you go to the right, you kind of develop this very short-term muscle memory, and that helps you to replicate that design in the same way. So we're going to go ahead and throw our first line on the left hand side. I'm going to push you down here. Hope you get a good angle on it. So I don't have a plan for this design, I just make it up as we go. So what we learned last week, let's do some kind of variation of the C curve maybe, or the S curve, whichever goes. I try to start on top and then just work my way to the bottom. Let's have a look. Yeah, so that was a classic variation of the S curve, and what I want to do right now is replicate the same thing on the right hand side. So let me do it right now quickly. Yeah, so it's simple as that. Do the line on the left of your design and then immediately go to the right. So it's more or less the same. As you can see, it is a simple S curve as we did before. It's not as profound as the one we did before, but that's even easier. This goes with the design. Let's do a couple more lines in the same way, and then we're going to switch the color. When building your design, as I said before, there are no rules. Just go with what, go with the flow. Go with what feels natural and feels right for you. That's about it. There's no strict rules. Let's start over here. Let's connect that line and see what we're gonna end up with. Let's go ahead with that. When you can move your design, your practice board, sometimes so you don't need to move around too much, it's good. Remember, you won't be able to move a motorcycle or a car. You can't turn it upside down just for you to make it easier. So you need to move your whole body around that part you're painting. But with a practice board, it's kind of easy to actually move it around. And I try to move it around so give you guys the best view without shaking the camera too much, which is not exactly easy. But let's see if we can achieve this. Yeah. Yeah, so the one on this side, and I'm going to try to replicate on the other end. There we go, just like that. Let's throw a couple more lines just to make it a bit more, a little bit more interesting. I'm going to start again from the same part over here and build something else on top of that. Let's see what we can do over here. And I want to replicate the same thing on the other end. To make it easier, sometimes you draw yourself a virtual line like this, and then more or less where you think you should, and just do a little dot so you know which part you're going. We're going to start the same way. That's another variation of the S curve which we learned before. Yeah, just like that, and we can build up on this. Let's go over here. That was a small C curve. Wasn't exactly straight line, it was a bit more curvature to it, so it's a C curve, and one over here as well. Yeah, and I would like to join them two lines just to finish off this little simple design. So I'm going to do like a little bridge in the middle of it. You can twist the design if you can, if it helps. There we go. So yeah, let's call it done for the first color. Before we finish that off, I want to show you a little trick that not everybody wants you to know. The end of the brush, the handle is perfectly round, so we dab it in our paint, just like that. Try to find the thicker part. We can make perfectly round dots, just like that. Simple, right? Let's do a couple more. Maybe over here, one here and one here. There we go. So that's first color done. Let's screen the brush and let's load it up with white. One more tip I wanna give you when it comes to working on the multiple colors, especially colors like contrasting colors like white and red. It's a good idea to have 2, 3 or even 4 containers with your white spirit of your thinner of your choice. First one, like this one, would be just to get rid of the main color from your brush, and the second one would be like wash to clean it up completely. Sometimes it's good to use the third one as well, just to make sure there's no of that pigment in your brush left, nothing of this other color left before you load the brush with a different color. Obviously, if you've got more than one brush, that helps to keep them separated, especially when you want to work fast on a motorcycle show or some other shows. When I go on the road and I work on motorcycle shows or some other festivals, I work with a setup of 4 containers with white spirits, so I work quick. I can change the color very quickly in between the design, and that helps to keep the brush free of any foreign colors in there. So when we load it up with white right now, it's not going to end up pink, because we wouldn't want that, would we? But I've got just one, just for the purpose of this exercise, and if you give it a good wash, you can do it exactly the same job. It just takes a little bit more time. Okay, so I've got my same brush loaded now with white, and we're going to add the second color to this very simple design. Now it can be a bit tricky. Now you need to be careful when you put your fingers, because the paint is still wet, and it's okay when you're painting at home and you get just a motorcycle helmet that the customer is going to collect, and in 2 or 3 days time you can wait for this to dry. But if you're working on a motorcycle show, you don't have that time, so you need to work on a wet design, and that's absolutely fine. There's no problem here. So you want to be careful when you put your fingers, because you don't want to dab it on your line at the moment and spread the paint all over the place. You will need to wipe the whole design off and start over again. That's not cool. So just be careful when you place your fingers, and yeah, let's lay the second color to it. What I want to do, I want to outline that centerpiece with white. So that's going to be 2 variations of very gentle C curve, I believe. It's not exactly a straight line because it goes slightly around the edges of that teardrop design. So let's have a look how it's done. I'm trying to work around the camera, which is not easy, but let's have a look if I can give you a good angle and do a semi-decent job of this. Let's have a look. Yeah, so that's one part done. What I want to point out, when you actually press that brush down and going along this line, you kind of need to watch the brush itself, tip of the brush, but you also need to see where you're going, where you're getting with this design, because sometimes there's a sudden curve, and being just in this spot, for example, it doesn't necessarily tell you what to do next. So you need to kind of think ahead and prepare your brush, and you're turning your brush in the way the design flows. So let's do the other outline on the other side. There we go, that's outlined now. And now to contrast this, I'm going to fill in these two openings, maybe so it's the other way around. There's going to be red in the middle, and that's going to have white in the middle. Best way of doing that is a very small gap, but sometimes you get bigger gaps. So best way of doing this is to kind of outline the inside. Let's have a look like this. Yeah, and I could have pressed a little bit harder to close this gap, but I want to show you a little trick. If the gap would be bigger, then obviously the brush is quite thin this way. So what you need to do, turn the brush sideways, and it will paint just as good. Obviously that is a very small gap, so I could get away with it, but just there's always this opportunity. You can turn the brush sideways and just clean it up. And that's one side done. Let's do the other side. I'm gonna put you over here so you can see better. There we go. And I spotted over here right now that this white fill is longer than this one, so I just go back and I fix it. You know, it's not the end of the world. As I said, we're not computers, but we can make it look even enough. You know, it's good enough. I think it is. Same over here. I just spotted that now. This is further up than this, so I come back and I fix it. You can hide all your mistakes like this, you know, and make a pretty good job on that. Okay, to finish it off, I'm going to add a couple little details. One is going to be this classic double line over here, and I would like to add maybe a couple lines not connected to this design on each side of that little piece over here, just like really simple lines. Let's do one like that. And then one on the other side as well. Yeah, there we go. Simple design, you know. Without talking, I could probably do it in about 5 minutes, but I won't explain you guys what to do. Again, this is not about building a fancy design, just so very basic principles, how to what to look for, what to watch out when you starting your design. When you finish it off, always sign your work. You can use the same brush. Make sure it's loaded. It helps. Always sign your work. Have your signature, have your initials, whichever works for you. It's your work, you know. Should be proud of it. There it is. And now you need to leave it for, tell your customer, you need to leave it for at least 24 hours before you can do anything with it. And after that time, after 24 hours, when it's completely dry, spray it with some, most probably the best thing is window cleaner, because it's got degreaser in it, and all this line will disappear, and all your greasy fingerprints where you were touching the board or the surface of your job, it will disappear as well. Or if the customer needs to take it away right now, just tell him to wait 24 hours, be very careful with it. Window cleaner, microfiber cloth, and ready. Within 24 hours this will be rock solid, and it was not coming off unless you scratch it. So design is ready, everybody's happy with it, and because it's a practice board, design is gone. Once we're going to clean it up, we're going to do it again, over and over again. The more you practice, the better you get. It's simple as that. There's no magic to it, there's only practice. Okay, that's the end of part 3. We learned how to build a basic design. Once again, it's not about the design, but what to look for when you're building your design. Hope I give you enough information just to start practicing that and using different variations of the line, the C curve, the S curve, and the teardrop design, and how to combine it. As you can see, it's all about this curvature of the line and keeping it symmetrical and clean and consistent. I hope that helps. There's a few more videos coming in that series. I'd like to cover scroll pinstriping and different brushes and a couple of different techniques, maybe some additives to enamel paint. But if you've got any specific questions, or if you'd like to learn something very specific, please let me know. You can drop in the comments below, you can message me. I'll be really happy to help. If it's interesting enough subject, I'll be more than happy to make a video on that as well. It depends, guys, what you want. So let me know. Something that is obvious for me, maybe not obvious for anybody else. So by any means, drop me a message, write a comment, and we take it from there. And I'm pretty sure Mr. Giraffe is a little bit more happy right now than he was before. So I think we're still gonna be friends. I think it's good. Am I right? Yeah, I'm right. Alright guys, thanks for watching once again, and catch you next time. Cheers.